Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's Appraisal Buzzcast. Today, we'll be talking about the record demand for housing and what it means for appraisers. I'm Jim Morrison with the Appraisal Buzz, and today, Joan Trice, our founder and CEO, will be interviewing Shawn Telford of CoreLogic. Shawn and Joan will be discussing what the current housing boom means for appraisers and if it will be attracting new trainees into the industry. We'll also be discussing the upcoming Appraisal Foundation and Appraisal Institute webinar on promoting trust for fair and affordable housing. This event will be held Wednesday and Thursday, December 9th and 10th. There's still time to sign up for this at theappraisalfoundation.org under the Events tab. If you're watching the video version, you can click the link on your screen. Without further ado, we'll get into it. Joan, over to you.
Thank you, Jim, and welcome, Shawn. How are you today?
I'm great. Grateful for the opportunity to be here, Joan.
We're going to talk about a real hot topic. I understand that you're right in the middle of this conversation because you're on the AQB, and that is this trainee discussion. So what are you all talking about, Shawn? And obviously we've got some challenges to attracting the next generation of appraisers. So what's going on? What are the conversations at the foundation?
Well, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. Joan, as you mentioned, I'm a member of the AQB, and I don't speak on behalf of the board. I'll certainly share my own opinions and thoughts, but there's a lot of activity in that vein for sure. I think, recently the board implemented some changes that will allow a technology-based approach to appraiser training to come to fruition. We call it Parea. And so that is obviously a new method to allow people to enter the appraisal profession. And, if we take a step back and look at what's going on in the world right now, there's just tremendous volume for appraisers. As you well know, the rates are record lows, and we're just seeing a ton of appraisal work out there in the marketplace. And so that's a good thing. And I think that highlights the ongoing demand for appraisers. And I think, that'll continue, hopefully for some time, that the rates will stay low and that the markets will have that demand. So yeah, lots of activity out there. And as the AQB is very interested in ensuring that appraisers and new entrants have opportunities to, enter the profession and be successful.
Well, that demand sets up an interesting dynamic in the market. So the good news is everybody's busy. The bad news is everybody's busy. So how does one go about bringing on a trainee when you're doing all you can to, just keep those orders going out the door?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And certainly it's something that's near and dear to all of us who are part of the profession and want to see it continue to grow. Is for how do we bring those appraisers in? Certainly the traditional method, supervisors and trainees, it works, and we see obviously a lot of that in the marketplace. Some have concern that takes too long to go through that process, but in I think it was 2018. The AQB adjusted the requirements for education and time, and I think they right-sized it to help new entrants come into the profession. 2018,
okay.
The AQB right-sized the requirements, and that made it a little less stringent for someone to enter the profession. So I think of that as right sizing, which is a good thing. But regardless, we still have places where trainees can't find supervisors to work with, which is a problem. And that's one of the things the AQB sought to tackle with Parea, was to provide opportunities for new entrants to come into the profession and using technology to get their experience, remove that dependency on that supervisor relationship. And it's anticipated that process, once it comes to fruition, will be a shorter cycle and require less supervisors to be involved, so to speak. We call them mentors. And that allows for new entrants who desire to be part of the profession to do so with the least amount of resistance.
Okay. Well, I'm going to dive right in on that question about what exactly is Parea, but I'm going to turn it back over to Jim for a minute for a quick commercial message, and then we'll be right back to that.
Thank you, Joan. Our first sponsor today is ACI. As the provider of innovative appraisal solutions for more than 40 years, ACI is a trusted industry leader. Join thousands of appraisers and many of the largest appraisal companies that use ACI software in the US and Canada to optimize their business. The ACI One Individual Plan is available today for $649 and includes forms and rules, sketch software, unlimited location and flood maps, public record data, ACI Open House, and more. For more information, visit aciweb.com. Joan?
Thank you, Jim. So back to Parea. What does the acronym stand for? And what do you mean by it's a kind of a technology substitute? What does all that mean?
Sure. So Parea stands for Practical Applications of Real Estate Appraisal. And the goal is to provide a method where technology, all different kinds of technology, can allow a provider, a Parea provider, to give experience to someone who wants to enter the profession, so a trainee. So for example, things like computer-based learning. We all are experiencing this much more in our lives in the last few years, where you can go to websites or programs or apps and you can get experience doing things that you may not have been able to do before. My wife's a nurse and she uses a web-based technology to recertify every year on CPR and rescue breathing. That's all through technology. It's kind of cool. So following that thinking, we know that there's other things like virtual reality that could help give a appraisal trainee the experience they need with the appraising process to be successful. Everything from finding comparables to researching information about a property to doing the analysis and calculations necessary to be successful in estimating value, to even to the point when you do need to inspect the property, to be able to do that virtually with virtual reality or imagery and things of that nature. So, one can easily envision an appraiser trainee getting the experience interacting with all of those tools and situations in a technology-based environment versus working alongside a supervisor appraiser.
No, that makes sense. But who's developing those technology-based programs?
Right. The Parea was just approved very recently, and it goes into effect in January of 2021.
Okay.
And there's a process after that where the states will have to adopt this as an alternative to the traditional model in their regulatory world. And so I wouldn't anticipate things happening right away. It's there's 50 states and territories and whatnot. And so there'll be different timelines from when the Parea program becomes available in those states. And as far as, who's going to develop that, Joan, there's many people that have discussed that they're interested and, desiring to put that together. That'll come to fruition over the next few months, I would think, into the first part of the year, as well as the Appraisal Foundation staff is working together some of the documentation and guides that will help those who want to develop a Parea program to bring it to light.
Okay. Does anybody have a number on the demographics on how many trainees are actually going through the educational process each year? Do we know?
Yeah, I haven't heard of a good statistic on that, Joan. I know we don't have the ability to look up trainees on the National Registry, and so I don't know that there's a good source. Maybe you have a contact, but I don't have. I know they're out there. We know that there's demand, but I don't know the exact number. We just have anecdotal information at this point.
Yeah, I think we really need a better way to monitor and track that, because if we can't, it's hard to measure success when there's nothing to measure.
Yeah. Well, an interesting statistic I found when I wrote the recent article was the number of test takers, the folks that are taking the national exam, has actually basically doubled since 2015.
Okay. Well, there's a statistic, right? Yeah.
It went from about 580 for the licensed and certified exam in 2015 to 1,217 in 2019. So that's a significant increase in demand there. If we look at that as one indicator of how well we're doing, in addition to the anecdotal information we get for people looking for supervisors and trying to find places to enter the profession.
It's almost like we need to what's it called? Contact tracing. We need to chip them and follow them along their career path so we can keep track.
Certainly, that's one of the things that I think many of us are advocates for is more data gathering in that regard, so that we can not be flying as blind as we are in some respects. So,
right.
I certainly would love to see more data.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I'm going to break one more time for another commercial message with Jim, and then we'll be right back.
Thanks, Joan. Well, appraisers, if you've grown frustrated with endlessly pursuing new appraisal work and not reaping any of the benefits, Metro West is here to help. They understand and work to alleviate the pain points commonly felt by appraisers to enable personal and financial growth for their staff. After all, they've been owned and operated by appraisers since the company opened in 1987. Metro West Appraisal is an equal opportunity employer, and they're always looking for certified residential real estate appraisers to join their team. Visit metrowestappr.com/careers or email careers@metrowestappr.com. Joan?
Thank you. Shawn, I know, we're having this conversation within the CRN as well. So sort of a subset, as within the whole trainee discussion is how do we also attract minorities and women into the profession? Are you all having those conversations at the foundation as well? And what are your thoughts?
I can't speak for the foundation, of course, Joan, but I can, I don't know the timing on when this will come to be published, but, in early December, the foundation is having a symposium on those topics. And I know that all the different views into those questions around bias and fair housing and that kind of thing. So I'm very anxious to see what comes out of that discussion. And I hope that there's some, clear directions that as an industry we can grab onto and move forward.
Can you tell us how you would sign up for that and what are the dates that's going to be offered?
I believe that's on the 9th and 10th of December in 2020. Yeah, the 9th and 10th. And just send folks to the appraisalfoundation.org website.
Oh, all right, fantastic.
And that there, yeah.
Okay. Well, and then also within the collateral risk network, we're talking to some of the lenders. I understand that, one of the barriers to entry is that there are still a good number of lenders who will not allow trainees to inspect properties. And that's unfortunately a big barrier to entry for, the rank and file appraiser out there that needs help, would love to hire a trainee, but they don't have any of the work that they can keep them busy with.
Yeah. At CoreLogic, we of course work closely with our clients and have had a lot of success working with clients who are also want to see the industry grow and understand some of these things and in making adjustments and helping to, remove some of those barriers where appropriate. So, but you're right. I mean, if we had a shout out to the industry, so to speak, it would be, look at your policies and procedures and see if there's anything in there that's making it hard for trainees to do work for you. And certainly we understand that everybody's got their business model and approach of how they want to manage risk, but look for opportunities to allow a trainee to fully work for you under the direction of a supervisor, which can ease the challenges in some respects for sure. We at CoreLogic we've started a training program several years ago where we bring on every year a cohort of trainees, and we hire them as employees and take them through that full year of training and experience. And it's just been a great experience to see those folks go from nothing to certification. I think all in our first cohort, there were 11. I think all but one are now certified. But yeah, those kind of opportunities are out there, and but we need to see more of that. And I think the benefits from that process are immense for both, for us as CoreLogic, but also for the lenders who we do business with.
Yeah, I think one of the pieces also that's missing, and it would be helpful if we could actually get credit hours approved for this, is we really need to help the appraiser professional who wants to be a mentor and teach them the business aspects of how do they actually bring on board a trainee. And, are they employees? Are they independent contractors? What does that mean from an accounting perspective and a business perspective? Do you need, E&O insurance in place, workers' comp and other liability insurances, and the whole business side of it? But unfortunately, we're on one hand saying we want trainees. On the other hand, we're saying, but we won't approve credit hours for you to learn how to do this. And we've got to connect that gap there, I think.
There's definitely demand for people to enter the profession, Joan. I mean, I know that, and there are some things that were probably put in place for good reason many years ago that are kind of in need of refreshing or modernization, that would say, hey, is that really reducing risk for us as a lender by having that policy in place regarding appraisal or trainees? So yeah, I think there's definitely opportunity, and certainly we hear and see lender clients, AMCs, recognizing these needs, and many are taking action and making things better. But as you well know, there's always room to continue doing more and get more momentum.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in education, and I do think we need to make it easier and for everybody, for the mentor as well as the trainee, and then make those lenders feel comfortable as well in the process, which means we have to have a system of accountability. So it's going to take all of us working together on this. There's no doubt about it. We're not going to do it individually. We're going to have to do it collectively, and I'm fairly confident we're going to get there. So with that, Shawn, unless you've got anything to add, I think we're going to wrap things up here today.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, Joan, to talk about this. It's a very important topic. There's a lot of good momentum. It's a profession that I think has a lot of good opportunity, both in the mortgage area and elsewhere. And it's going to be around, and it's going to change, and that's okay. And so, get involved and help shape the future.
Very good. Well, thank you again, and you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Joan. Take care.
In these uncertain times, appraisers need a certain partner. You don't have to sacrifice top-notch coverage for an affordable premium. Intercorp has all the options and is sure to have just the right one to fit your specific needs. They provide the appraisal profession with best-in-class E&O coverage solutions nationwide. Having served with the insurance needs of the industry for more than 25 years, Intercorp understands the risks you face every day. Whether you're an individual appraiser, appraisal firm, residential, commercial, or an AMC, visit intercorp.net to get a competitive quote today. Well, Joan and Shawn, thank you so much for joining us for today's Buzzcast. It was really interesting, and we'd love to see more about getting more trainees into the industry. Thanks so much, and have a great day, everyone.